Hey, what's up, LinkedIn and YouTube and wherever else you might be watching this, either now in the present or later on in the future. My name is Jonathan Schofield, but you can call me Skofi. And if you are a current FindMyITPartner.com partner, you probably already know about this. If you're just stumbling through scrolling LinkedIn or whatever, and you happen to find this, this is the Skofi Growth Council. And for the first time, this is not gated behind any registration or login or whatnot. We're making it open to our community to participate in because we believe there's some value for everybody. And we're glad that you're here. But what is the Growth Council? You might be wondering. So the Growth Council started as an exclusive event for my partners who are in IT services, cybersecurity, and compliance. Once a month, we bring in a subject matter expert to speak anything sales, marketing, business development, channel development, growth through the lens of an IT business. And we've had a lot of really interesting special guests over the years, and I am very thrilled to introduce our special guest today here in a moment. But who is this for? So if you're an IT service provider, security practitioner, you work in compliance, you provide managed services in one of those categories or all of those categories, and you're seeking to build and grow your business, this is for you. If you work with IT providers and you're seeking to understand their plight and know how you, as a thought leader, vendor, strategic partner to the MSP community, this is a great place for you to get one heck of an education on a lot of different things. So if you're watching this, that's who it's for. We're glad that you're here. And this is meant to be fairly engaging. So do not be shy. Jump in the chat. Say hi. Let us know where you're watching from. Make sure I pull up the comments section here. Chris is online. Chris says hi. Thanks for being here, Chris. Appreciate you. Throughout the live, Jeff and or myself may be asking some questions, and we crave your participation and feedback. With no further ado, I want to go ahead and introduce our special guest today. So online with us, we have Jeff Sumner, who is the CEO and owner of TechGuides, a managed IT and cybersecurity company based out of Pennsylvania. Got clients all up and down the East Coast. And I believe more than that, Jeff can provide some more color to his background and TechGuides specifically. He is a Skofi partner, and he is featured on FindMyITPartner.com along with a nationwide network of really awesome providers. Jeff is a little unique in that he and I go back a little bit, and he's shared some of his experiences and stories with me, which is why I thought he's actually the first MSP to speak to our MSPs. And there's a reason behind that. I have high value and regard in the stories he's shared with me and your background, Jeff. So we are thrilled to have you here. Before I hand it over to you, because I definitely wanted to give you the chance to introduce yourself, I just want to briefly touch on the topic for today. So Hold 'em or Fold 'em was the title that we kind of put together. And the whole idea is making the right bets in business. What does that mean? Well, we're going to follow some rabbit trails together with Jeff today. But if you're a business owner and you've thrown some mashed potatoes against the wall over the course of your tenure as an entrepreneur and business owner, and maybe some stuff has worked, maybe some stuff didn't, I think you can see where we're going. We're going to explore that stuff together. All right, I'm done talking for just a second, Jeff. I'm going to shut up. Tell us about yourself, introduce yourself, share a little bit about your background, and let's follow some rabbit trails together.
Okay, I appreciate that. So Jeff Sumner, you can call me Jeff Sumner. And so I've been in the tech business for about 32 years, 33 years. TechGuides has been around for 26, 27 if you count the day I sat down at my dining room table, 26 from incorporation date. We are an MSP. We focus on MSP stuff, but we also have a very deep cybersecurity practice. I've been a CISSP since 2006. And we also we're getting really deep into AI. And that might be things that other people hear, and everybody says that Some of the things we do a little different, especially from an owner's perspective that you might be interested in, is so we're in right outside Philadelphia, but I've been down in Florida for 3 years. I don't work 80 hours a week. I'm not really stressed about things. Some of that comes from just running the business for so long. There's stressful days, but not a lot. I don't pretend to have any secret knowledge, but what I'm going to give you a couple of ways that I approach things that I think are a little different from how other people approach. Sometimes it's, crotchety old man stuff, but I think that works. I started Tech Guides just to give you, it's not like I came out fully formed. We do about 5 million, little over 5 million a year. The last couple of years, we've been doing well and growing on a nice steady thing. But I moved to Philadelphia in 1998, I suppose. And I knew no job, no prospects, no nothing, and grew that from there. So that's what I'm going to be talking about a little bit. We will be returning to the hold 'em or fold 'em idea. I do run on tangents a lot, but we're going to try to stay focused on that. And I hope you learned something. I like to throw in some quotes sometimes, and one of them is from Socrates, and he said, an unexamined life is not worth living. And take that to your business. An unexamined business is not worth running. If you're not looking at what you're doing, then it's you might as well not be doing it, right? And another quote, this time from Voltaire, is don't let perfect. I'm paraphrasing, but don't let perfect be the enemy of good, right? You don't have to be perfect in everything. This presentation is a case in point. It's not going to be perfect. Hopefully, it'll be good. Mostly, I just want you to be thinking about things. Just start thinking and think from a different lens. I did not have a PowerPoint presentation. As I told Jonathan, then I prepared one at 11 using Copilot, because we're a Microsoft shop. But then I decided just to go the way I go, which is without a parachute, just flying.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So that's is that good? Was that a good intro? It's okay.
That is a perfect intro, Jeff. It absolutely is. So, I mean, a few things that you said in your intro. You don't work 80 hours a week, and like the business kind of runs itself, and you travel, and you kind of have built a lifestyle for yourself that you seem very satisfied and content with. When that, sounds incredible. And if I had a nickel for every IT provider that I talked to, that is the antithesis of that, where they wear 75 hats in the business. They're burning the candle at both ends, and some ends that don't even exist. And they're stressed and anxious and desperate for that next dollar. They aspire to that. And I appreciate the humility that you brought this with today. You're like, it didn't come out fully formed. So I'm very excited to hear the story starting back in 1998, where it began, because I suspect we're going to have some parallels that a lot of the folks watching this now or later in the future, getting the recording, will resonate with. So Thank you for that. Perfect. Let's go.
Yeah, thank you. I think one of the big things is when you start a business, right, is to realize why you're starting it. Now, I'm going to touch on a bunch of that stuff, but because I have a soapbox, Skofi was good enough to give me a soapbox. You got to be careful what you wish for. I want to talk about just some things that irritate me, or things I think about a little different from other people. The first is, advice, right? LinkedIn is filled with advice. You go on LinkedIn and just everybody trying to tell you what you need to do for your MSP. And I kind of put those in 3 buckets. The smallest bucket is useful advice, right? There's some people out there giving good advice. Right here, Skofi gives great advice. I love working with him. But then there's a whole bunch of things from the captain's obvious, right? They say things like, be good to your employees, treat your clients well. No crap. I mean, what do you think? I'm just going to treat everyone, it's just really irritating. But the big thing I want you to think about is also, where is this advice coming from? Right? This gets into the hold 'em or fold 'em mentality, right? I say that people are always bluffing. I don't mean that they're always lying to you, but when a vendor says to you, hey, I've got great advice for you, or I've got a great product for you, you've got to look at it and know that there's something behind what they're telling you. They're not just telling you because they want to help you out, right? They want to sell you something. So it's that everything I look at, I approach from what's in it for the other person. I'm generally a trusting person, but it's kind of like Ronald Reagan, who would say, trust, but verify. You can trust them all you want, but make sure what they're telling you is true.
Right.
I call this, well, this portion of the talk is truth or bullshit, but I changed it to baloney, so I didn't keep saying that over and over. One of the things that really I cannot stand is when you talk to these people who are successful and they say, all it takes is hard work. It takes a lot more than hard work, right? You have to have luck. You've got to be in the right place. They say fortune favors the brave, which is true. You've got to put yourself in enough positions to be lucky. But it's all not just hard work. You could work as hard as you want. I think some of the people on this call probably are working as hard as they possibly can. That's not always going to get you there, right? You've got to open yourself to opportunities, and you've got to be lucky to some extent. But one of the things that really annoys me is when successful people talk about successful people fail faster. You've got to fail until you can succeed. That's bullcrap, right? If you could be given the choice of whether to succeed without failing, like if you could succeed with succeeding or succeed with failing, which would you take, right? Don't excuse poor decisions on your part and learn from failures, but don't take it as a badge of honor that you're failing. I like the people, Trump said something, he likes people who are successful, right? Or winners or something like that. That was way back, 8 years ago or something. But that's true. That part is true. It's better to succeed by succeeding. I got my notes here, so I got to go to the next page.
I want to call out something you said. Said, Jeff.
Please.
It's not truth or bullshit, and it's not necessarily always just about hard work. There's other factors at play, and I want to unpack a thing you said. You said luck a couple times, and if you're watching this back and you're with us today, you might be thinking, well, how do I go and manufacture luck for myself? And if you didn't catch it, Jeff actually told you. He said, open yourself up to opportunities, to put yourself in position. You made those two comments.
Right.
So if what you heard was, oh, I have to be lucky. Well, damn, I'm not lucky. So I guess I'm screwed. No. I don't think that's what Jeff's saying. Jeff's saying, yes, hard work, but the right work that puts you in a position to be open to many opportunities. And now the chances of being lucky, it's like if you walked into a casino, you roll a die one time, your chances are finite. You roll that die many times, so you're taking more chances, I guess, is what I'm hearing. Would you agree with that, or would you add some more color or thought around that?
I'll do both, right? I agree. I think you're taking more chances, but let's take a look. I'm going to jump. I won't move my paper around, but I'm going to jump to something that I was going to talk about, and that's going to networking events, right? Local networking events. And this is where you have to examine the costs and the benefits. So local networking events tend to be filled with smaller businesses and salespeople. Okay. So where I'm going, given my size and age and all that, is I'm going to C-suite people. That's my market. That's my target person. I am not going to find them in local networking events. Sometimes I go just because there's people I know who are going to be there, friends of mine, but I generally, and because I'm thousands of miles away, but I generally don't go. But in the beginning, I went to all of them. That's where you open yourself up to opportunities, right? The cost was low, is either joining the chamber. It was free, or it was $25. It was right in the city I was in Philadelphia when I lived there. So the cost was very, very low, but the benefits could have been huge. That's where I met my first client. That client led me to another client, led me to another. In fact, now that client, eventually they got older and closed their doors, but I can track some of the clients I have today from that first client. So you have to be open. You have to put yourself out there. And I know it's not necessarily the easiest. Another way, I say there's two things that I can do, right? The two things, secret of my success. One, and you might find this hard after hearing me, but people like me in general, right? Not going to lie, that just seems to be the thing. Some people I rub completely the wrong way. But the other one is I can hire well. And that's one of the most important things you can do. I'm down in Florida 3.5 years because I have a president who's been with me 23 years. My top senior guys have been with me 17 and 18 years. You have to hire well, you have to treat them right. And the biggest thing, and hopefully the rest of this talk won't be a mess because I'm jumping all over the place, and this is a number one mistake I see a lot of my colleagues do, is they micromanage, right? You have to hire people who can do the job. Once they prove that they can do the job, you have to let them fly. You have to let them do their job. And that's another one of my truth or baloney things, which is you should hire people to do the job that you can't do, or to do the job better than you. And that's true, but with a qualifier. The truth is, yes, I haven't touched to any technical work since 2006. I started as a tech. I was the only tech in my job before I had been a tech, but I haven't done it since 2006 because I hired the right people who were better than I was. But the qualifier is in finances and in numbers, right? You cannot outsource that. You might be able to outsource bookkeeping, right? You might be able to outsource parts of that, bill collections, those sorts of things, but don't outsource your ability to understand your numbers. Right. I run my business on a spreadsheet or multiple spreadsheets, which gets me to another point, which is truth or baloney. You need a plan. That's false, but with a qualifier. The false is you don't need a business plan, right? I've never had a business plan. Hell, I don't even have a budget. I don't budget. I don't do any of that. But this is the qualifier. But I know my numbers. I know almost to a dime how much money comes in from a client, the gross, how much we net from a client, what our hourly rate is for them, or their monthly rate. I know what my products cost. I know all these numbers in my tiny little head, right? And if your head doesn't fill those, write them down. You've got to know those numbers. If you know the numbers, they won't lie. Then you can do all these cost benefit analyses that I'm talking about, and you can make the right decisions.
So many incredibly valuable nuggets right now. While you were talking, we had Steve come in here, said, align yourself with the right group of people. He made this comment back when you were talking about, early on, you found yourself going to more and more networking events and opening yourself up to opportunities. And I agree with that so much. Steve's comment here, I think, resonates with that as well. And what he says about the right group of people is very important. There are a lot of groups of people where you can go network and find that you're actually wasting your time. Right. So it is not just about opening yourself to every and any opportunity, but having a level of strategicness, like where do I stand the greatest chance of connecting with that next big opportunity for myself? It's huge.
Yeah. I think that's totally true. If anybody who has kids, right, you're always worried who their friends are, because we have a tendency, and there's somewhere somebody said this better than I'm about to say it, but you start to take on some of the personalities and the habits of your friends and also of the different groups you're in. So you have to be careful. And a couple, my brain generally goes everywhere. My employees are used to me just throwing things out. But the two things, and I think I'm only going to remember one, is don't be afraid. There's such a thing as a sunk cost, right? And a sunk cost fallacy. And it's kind of like being pot committed. And what I mean by that is to ride on what you were saying is, let's say you join a networking group. Let's say you go to one meeting, it's great, right? You got a couple leads, you gave a couple leads. So you pay the $350 for the year to join. Okay, second meeting stinks, third meeting stinks. You keep going, and there's a movie about this called The Road to Abilene, right? That had to do with multiple people. Anyway, so you keep going. I already paid for it. It's a sunk cost idea, right? The cost is gone. It's done. You paid for it. If you're not getting the value out of it that you expected, stop, because it's costing you more in time and lost opportunities by still going. Chalk it up as a loss. Chalk it up 350 divided by 3. That was what it cost you to go to 3 meetings and be done.
That's right.
I see so many people in so many parts of their life and their business, they keep doing stuff. I've bought plane tickets for a conference. My plans changed. Somebody who was going to speak at the conference is no longer going. And this was before you could get the credit right away. I say, well, I'm not going. It's a waste of my time. So don't be afraid of that, right? Sometimes it hurts, but a sunk cost is a cost that's already happened. If you're not going to get the benefit, just let it go. Yeah.
I definitely need to hear that, because anyone who's remotely connected to what I'm trying to build with findmyitpartner.com will know that we're a small team. We're absolutely in startup mode. We just launched a beta, announced a beta 2 months ago. I just, in my own assessment of the last 12 months, during tax season was a good opportunity for me to kind of reevaluate where all of my dollars went and all of my time went. Because oftentimes where the dollars go, a lot of my time has also gone, right? When I spend money, whether it's on a tool or a resource or a platform or training or an asset or whatever it is, there's always some type of time cost associated with the financial cost. And I was able to do some soul searching. It was like, oh, these are all the areas where Jonathan spent dollars. And then here's the associated time attached to that expenditure. And I had to realize there were a few things in our operations that, wow, you kind of were beating dead horses when there were other horses out in the field to go corral. And so that resonates with me. It does sting a little bit, because it means you got to make a change. You can't just be okay. And the thing you said, you keep doing stuff. Yeah. Is that stuff meaningful? So that resonates in a big way with me.
Yeah. And I think, and I don't know if this is useless advice or just often said advice, and it's really worked for me, is you have to be very, 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 very greedy with your time. Right. I don't give my time up. I'm sure you guys have had this too, right? You get a vendor who says, hey, come to this event that I'm having. You can learn about our product and you'll get a steak dinner. And I don't mean to put anybody down, but as I would tell these vendors, I can afford my own damn steak dinner, and I can get all the information you're going to give me just by going online. So why? Because the steak dinner is great, right? I'm not going to look that gift horse in the mouth, but it's going to take me 45 minutes to get there, 45 minutes to get back. Lunch or dinner is dinner, right? That time is done. But that hour and a half, it's not worth it.
There's got to be something more. I agree with that. There's got to be something more that you're getting out of it. And, maybe if as a business owner, you enjoy that experience, or you value the relationship that you have with that vendor, maybe you get something beyond it. But there's got to be some analysis and honesty that you bring to that. If you're going to just hang out with some friends, that's fine, but that's the thing that you have to be honest about. Also, you made this comment earlier, which is, like truth or bullshit. Like, are they actually your friend, or are they courting you and they really want your money? Now, it's okay. It's nothing wrong with a vendor courting you and wanting your money, especially if they're doing it in a way that's like adding value to your world. And you can be friends with vendors. You absolutely can. But you have to have that little, voice in the back of your head to say, like, okay, well, what is it they actually want? And am I okay with that? And then maybe it does make sense for some of you to go to that steak dinner. But for a lot of you, you maybe spend a lot of your time at events throughout the year where they're just big vendor sales pitches, and you're going to a lot of those dinners, and you're taking a lot of time away from the business, away from family, away from the things that make your life really good. You got to be honest about those things. Some of it's really valuable, but a lot of it maybe is needing to be reviewed.
Yeah, I think let me ask a question first. How long is our talk today?
We've got about 15 minutes left.
Okay. I was like, are we like coming up right now? So the conferences are a big thing. And if anybody knows me, they've heard me talk about conferences, right? And I did put it here. Conferences, that's one of those places where you really have to do the hold 'em, fold 'em. You got to look at the cost benefits, right? Yeah. Back when I was starting, I did go to a bunch of them. And the reason why I went was I didn't know anything. The internet was a lot smaller. It was a lot harder to get information. But I made some connections with a lot of people, right? With a lot of MSPs who are now my friends today. They're my peer group, I don't really believe in peer groups. And if we get to it, I'll tell you why. I personally, for me, don't believe in peer groups. But the conferences, when you start out, I think the value is high. And the longer you stay in business, I think the value starts to go down because you've made your MSP relationships, unless you want to make more, right? You know the vendors, you know your product. As you have more employees, they're evaluating the products for you. They're getting training. And I don't believe the training at conferences is worth it, right? Because your employees are out there, they're drinking, they're hungover, whatever. They're either drunk or hungover when they're taking their training. So I don't believe in that. But you have to be, like you were saying, you have to be truthful as to why you're going. A lot of guys go just to have fun, and that's fine. It's a paid or it's an expensible trip. But you got to be honest with yourself, right? Because I did a whole calculation in here. Let's say you go to 2 conferences a year. They're 3-day conferences. It takes you a day on each side because you're not really working, even if it doesn't take a day. That's 5 days for each conference. That's 10 days out of a year, right? That's 2 weeks out of a 52-week year. And let's say with the costs involved, it costs you $4,000. Take all that stuff, take the lost opportunity of you being there, and then compare it with what are the benefits of being there. For me, it almost, at my stage, it almost never makes sense for me to go to a conference unless it's local. So you've got to decide. And I think Chris is saying something. So yeah, he says it helps at the start. Absolutely. And also sometimes I might just say, I'm going to go to see what's there, right? And I'm taking a total risk. It's like doing a bet in poker, right? You're just like, I'm going to go for that inside straight. I'll probably bust out, but it's worth it to me. I've got a huge chip stack. Maybe I have some time. Maybe it's in the city I haven't been to, which would be rare, but possible. Okay, I'm going to shift gears because there's a couple other things I want to talk about examining stuff. And this is another prickly point with me is team building exercises, right? Or team events, getting the team together. It's my contention that if your team is working together daily, whether remote or in person, they're building a team right now, right? If you let them do their jobs, and if you have a good culture that lets them do their jobs, they're going to start building relationships. You don't need to give them something to build a relationship. The example I wrote for myself is, let's say you have a team of 10 people, and you do 4 team building exercises a year. I have no idea what they cost because we don't do them. Guess $1,500 an exercise, right? To pay for the place, the food, the whatever it is, the axe throwing. I don't know what people do. That's $6,000 a year. I'm betting if you say you take that $6,000 a year and you go to your employees, would you like to have these 4 team building exercises, or would you rather have $600 in your pocket? They're going to say, holy crap, I'd rather have $600 because I already built the team. Sure, they're having fun when they're at the exercise, right? Because they're not working. It's different. But if you gave them the choice, I think they would take that. To go back to people are bluffing and, nothing you get is really free. Why am I doing this? Why am I spending my time? Because I'm trying to increase my relationship, already great relationship with us, the 2 of us, keep building. But also I'm hoping to connect with other MSPs. I'm very interested. We do a lot of work for other MSPs, in AI and in cyber. And that's it. That's why I'm doing it, to make more connections, right? I get to sit in the comfort of my home, but that was a mini fit in the room. It's like, well, why the hell's he doing it? So that was that. Peer groups. The only issue I really have with peer groups, I think, because if you're around long enough, you're going to get peers, right? Yeah. So I have some friends who have been in business as long as I have, and they're in peer groups, and I wonder why, because they go to 1 meeting a quarter. They're on all these meetings. I have my little peer group. It's just these guys I've met over the years. If you're newer, I think it could be a great idea, right? You have to look, I don't know the costs. You have to look at the cost, but it could be great to get that kind of feedback, see what other people are doing. So I have no problem with that. The only real problem I have with peer groups is when they also call them, or even separate groups, for accountability. Okay. Oh, this is going to help me be accountable. And what I'm trying to get people to think here is just to be focused, right, on business. Is if you need someone to hold you accountable as a business owner, you shouldn't be in business. Which gets me to my next one that we talked about, right? Another quote that I will do in a second is you go to lots of our websites, not mine, but you go to lots of our websites and it says about the owner, right? And it says, why did you start? You know, they say, I started this business to help small businesses with technology. I realized that small businesses didn't have access to the best in technology. That's why these people say they started the business, and to which I say, from the quote from Habib from the UFC, one of the greatest fighters ever, he said, this is number one bullshit. That's not why you started the business. Well, maybe it is, right? Maybe you did start the business to help companies because you were just altruistic, a lot more altruistic than I am. But I would challenge you that if that's why you started the business, you're not going to be, I won't say you won't be successful, but you won't be successful nearly as fast as if you started the business to be in business. If you started the business to make money, to improve your quality of life, so you didn't have a boss on you, like all these reasons. And if that's what your focus is, and your focus is to keep doing that, to have that quality of life, to be able to buy the things that you need to support yourself and your family, then you're going to grow. Right. I don't see the impetus or the fire if you're just there to help other businesses. Now you're helping them with your dreams. What about your own dreams?
That's right.
So
that's right.
Yeah.
Jeff, this is so fascinating because we are dancing around some pretty deep philosophical and existential like pools that I think all of us like lay down our head on the pillow at the end of the day and stare at the ceiling, and these things cross our mind. But then when we get up and we get into the minutia of running our venture and doing the things, we lose sight sometimes of those things that motivate and drive us. And then we also fail to identify in those around us. And just personally, I want to call out something that you've been kind of alluding to. I personally believe there is not a person alive or has ever walked across the face of this dusty globe that has not done every last thing they do in some measure of self-interest.
Yeah.
And
now that we're getting into a philosophical debate, right?
Yeah, exactly. But like what some of you may be hearing is, well, like my mission on my website is to serve and support local businesses and, protect, the 99 or whatever it is. It's like, I'm there to do this good thing, and it's okay to want to do a good thing, but in what way does that good thing serve you? Because the reality is, if it didn't serve you somehow, some way, even existentially, you wouldn't be doing it. And you also need to remember that when you are approached by vendors or peers or those who would seek to, be a part of your world, that there is some self-serving motive at the center of them as well. Mm-hmm. Now, like perhaps it is genuine, and we're not saying that everyone who says I want to help is not genuinely desiring to help you, but they get something out of it. And you did it yourself just now. You're like, hey, let me just be real with you. This is why I am doing this with Skofi today. I want to increase my network of connections in the MSP community because we work with MSPs. That is honest. And if you're watching this now or later, you should have just gotten a few major respect points in your Jeff bank. Right? Like for Jeff, like a couple more tallies went up for him for respect, because that's incredible. I can tell you why I do Skofi sessions, why I do Skofi Growth Council. I saw a need in the IT services channel that I thought I could fill that would enable me to build something that would enable me to live the life I want, leave something for my children, and give me 5 to 10 years. And I intend to exit and start a nonprofit for performing arts, because that's where I really want to do a lot more things. And that's me. So everything that I do, like these things with you and everybody in the chat, there is an existential motivator there at the core of it. So I thank you for bringing that out into the open, Jeff, because a lot of people, I think they make bad bets in business because someone approached them and they never filtered that through that framework of, well, what's motivating this individual to connect with me? And what's motivating this person who says they want to be a resource or helpful to me? What did they get out of this? And it's not because you should be a cynic completely and doubt everyone and never trust And just like, that's a bleak outlook to have.
Right.
Just know that the people that you interact with through business, employees included, especially business partners and vendors and everyone, there's something that drives them. And it's good for you to be cognizant of that and into it, what maybe that is. And guess what? You can even ask people, what is the thing? And then you can call bullshit or not based on what they tell you.
Yep. Yeah. I think this isn't to say that I don't enjoy helping our clients, right? But helping our clients is a vehicle for my success, right? I'm just by nature want to help, right? But like you said, what's in it for me? I think what people, I don't know if it's just MSPs, anybody, right? What you can't lose sight of is you've got to think about yourself, and you've got to think about your family. You got to think about your company, right? These are the things that you need to protect.
That's right.
Right. That's why you have to be so protective of your time and of your resources, and why I talk about evaluating things. What's the cost benefit, right? Because at the end of the day, you've got to take care of yourself, because these vendors, these clients, they're not going to take care of you. And again, I don't mean to sound harsh, but this is really what's going on. This is the undercurrent of the world. Right.
That's right.
We're all trying to take, and I won't just say us, if you have a family, right? We're trying to take care of the people who are near and dear to us. That is our mission, right?
That's right.
And it might just be you, but that's your mission, to take care of you. Mm-hmm. So don't be distracted by these other things, and know that that's what the other people are doing too. And like you said, it's all okay.
That's right.
It's all okay. You can help people while you help yourself. These vendors are helping while they're helping you while they help themselves. Right.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And this is really great. I wasn't necessarily expecting this conversation to go down this path, but I get goosebumps over this type of conversation, because it's real. It's real. It also reminds me of, like, may seem tangential at first, but IT business owners often get approached by folks that claim to be able to, like, I'm going to come help you grow your business. I'm going to do this critical piece of your dream. That vehicle that you described, vehicle for your own success. I'm going to take responsibility for that thing that you don't want to do. Right. And so they outsource components of their business. I'm not saying every outsourced provider is bad based on whatever it is they might do. There could be things and rationale for certain tasks and things in your business to outsource. But if the promise from the vendor or provider is, I'm going to grow your business for you, that should be a pretty significant red flag. It's funny, because if you spend any time with me, you understand that what Skofi does, what Find My IT Partner does, is we do try to help our MSPs grow. But I'm very clear with every partner that comes through my door, like, we are not a replacement for your responsibility to grow your business. We are here to help equip you and to provide a model by which you can emulate and supplement some of that growth, and hopefully help find you some opportunities that lead you to crush it. But I'm not going to be, and by the way, not just me, no other vendor or outsource provider is going to let themselves be on the hook for your venture, right?
Right.
So anyone who comes in and says, I'm going to grow your business for you, done for you, you should be cautious. You should be wary, because that's not a thing, right? It's not theirs to grow. It's yours.
Right.
All right. That's a soapbox that you drug me onto, Jeff. So,
well, do I have time to go over one hard number thing? Do we have
absolutely you do. Absolutely you do.
Just because I want to make sure people, that they didn't just go into our philosophical rabbit hole, which I love and which I think is very important. And I don't think we as a group often go down, right? And that's just a question of when to hire, when to fire, when to hire and when to fire employees, when to hire and when to fire clients, without getting too deep into it, right? Because you'll read people say you should fire this, the bottom 20% of your clients and this and that and the other thing. One of the things that I do is I wait to see. And what I mean by that is I have some clients, right, who aren't as profitable. And this goes back to knowing your numbers. You need to know which clients are profitable. Number of years ago, 10, 15 years ago, I lost my biggest client, right? The next month we had our best month ever because we had taken all these resources that this client who was not that profitable, top line was big, but bottom line was not, took all those resources, applied them to clients that were sitting in the pipeline, and we had our best month ever. So what I realized was I don't look at firing clients until it's time to hire an employee. Okay. So we've got our client base, we're doing work for them. We get another client, Okay, I'm thinking it's time to hire somebody to take care of our client base, right? That's what we do. That's how we grow. But growing headcount doesn't necessarily mean a good thing. I'm smaller than I was 10 years ago, right? I went like this, up, and now not quite as far down. So we are, I think, 13 people, 12 people. So we're not very big. But so we've got those 2 extra clients who came on, and now I'm looking that I need to hire someone, whatever amount of money that is, right? But what if I some of these low producing clients that take a lot of time and don't give me a lot of money, I get rid of them. These more profitable clients come in. But what I've done is I haven't had to hire somebody else. So my profit percentage goes up.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I do.
I think that's really a really wise approach to take. A common challenge or a common mistake I've seen in this industry is when I encounter friction in my business, or when I encounter, a challenge in my business, answer equals throw resume at problem. And that does not work for so many reasons. It doesn't mean don't ever hire. There's often very legitimate rationale for hiring, and growth being one of the more obvious ones. But it could be a trap. If the mentality is, I have more clients, now I must have more people, that could lead you to reduced profitability and even more operational pain than you had before the headcount.
Right.
What is it? They say more money, more problems, more people, more problems too.
Yeah, and you always need to be looking at profitability, right? For there's many reasons, so 2 main reasons, right? The profitability is going to determine how much money you can take from the business in any given year, right? And the profitability is the number one metric. There's EBITDA and all that crap, but it's profitability that if you ever want to sell your MSP, that is what they're looking at. How profitable are you, right? And if you're spending all your profit, if you're like, we're growing, and I guess, I don't know, like so many guys I think are just comfortable. They've got they're just like, oh, we're moving along, which is great. If you're moving along and you're fine with it, fine. But otherwise, think about how can you grow, right? If you're doing technical work and you love technical work, great. I didn't. It was, for me, it was a means to an end. I fell into it. And then I said, I know how to do this. I think I can run a business doing this, right? If you love technical work, then keep doing it. But I guarantee you, one of the ways to grow is to stop doing that technical work. And that technical work is probably one of the easiest things to outsource by hiring, right? It's probably one of the easiest.
And one of the, on the flip side of that, Jeff, one of the hardest and I would argue most impossible components of the business to outsource, especially early stage, those of you who might be solopreneurs on the call, or you only have a handful of employees, is the growth mechanism, the sales side of things. And I had a conversation with an MSP on the West Coast 2 weeks ago, and they were 15 million in annual revenue, and they had never hired an outside salesperson. And it was all the CEO. They had account managers that did internal growth with but like every new client that came through was closed by the CEO. I'm not saying that's necessarily the model to emulate, but like, there's pieces you can outsource and there's others that you absolutely cannot.
Well, and that CEO did it in, his or her own method, right? But something to realize too, whether it's closing a deal, buying a new product, even just how many hours, if you have an hourly employee, how many hours they work or do overtime, right? No one cares about your money as much as you do. You might even have, my president has been with me forever, and he cares about the company money a lot. I don't know if he's listening. I don't know if he's on, but he does. But I'm just a little tiny bit more.
That's right.
Because I'm the owner. That's what you have to realize.
This has been incredible. We are out of time, but before we hop off and end the stream, I would love for you to speak briefly for those who are curious. Explain a little bit, just briefly in a couple sentences, how you collaborate with other IT providers, and if they're curious, what's the best way for them to connect with you? And then I'll wrap us up.
Okay. Well, the best way to connect with me is by text or email. I don't know if that's released anywhere, Jonathan, or if you could release that somewhere. And the way we work with them is we sit, we're in Philadelphia, so we can go anywhere in the country. And if you're nowhere near us, you don't have to worry about us trying to steal your clients. I also, if you're in Philadelphia, I have no interest in stealing your clients. I like relationships. There's enough clients to go around. And we go in and we can kind of fill some holes. If you want to do a third-party cybersecurity assessment, we can do that. If you don't have a CISO package, we can do that on a monthly recurring. And then it's through you. Our guys go through you. And you make some money, you don't have to do anything. Same with AI, we're pushing into that. And there's a whole thing I can talk about of where the money is with AI. And there's many different places where you can make money directly, you can make money through us at the back end, at the front end. So I would say if you're just interested in collaborating, it could be something I haven't even talked about, or even just to talk about and share ideas.
Right.
When I'm off the clock, I like talking. Maybe that's obvious. Can get into some philosophical and business discussions. Yeah, you never know where it's going to lead. And that's where, if I can do it from the comfort of my home, the cost benefit goes way up.
So if you are a Skofi partner today and you're in our cyber matchmaking beta, then you will be receiving an email with a link to this recording. And we will make sure we include Jeff's email address in that. So Jessica, if you're watching this back later, make sure we include Jeff in the email with the recording.
And you can find me on LinkedIn, right? I'm on LinkedIn.
And if you'd like me to personally introduce you to Jeff, you can just reach out on LinkedIn and I'll send a mutual introduction email. Jeff's good people. We value your partnership, Jeff, and grateful that you were here with us today. This has been really incredible. If you want to watch this back again later, it'll be here on LinkedIn. It's also on our YouTube channel. When I end the stream in about 20 seconds, there'll be an end title card where you can go follow us on all the other socials if you so choose. And appreciate you all. And we'll see you at the next Growth Council. Be well.
Like, follow, subscribe.